Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to King's Brokerage. My name is Mohammed. In this video, this is gonna be the part 2 of the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission practice information that I'm giving you. I have part 1 as well. This is gonna be the part 2. So basically, I'm gonna help you guys explain the tests for the TLC, and I'm gonna make sure I give you as best of my knowledge, make it easy as possible. So let's get started. So this is section 54-15, operating general rules including operating vehicles. Number A is no weapons. While operating a taxi cab or street hail livery, a driver must not have a weapon or any other instrument intended to be used as a weapon in his or her possession or in the vehicle without the written permission of the chairperson. Which means that you cannot have any type of vehicle unless you have the written permission of the chairperson. So make sure you know that. This is the section. What it is, you have your revocation, and there is repairs required in court. Driver neat and clean. A driver must be neat and clean and dressed in person, present and professional appearance, which means that you have to dress neat. You can't be just have mustard and ketchup all over your shirt picking up passengers, which means that you can get a fine up to $25. And this is section 54-15B. No smoking. A driver must not smoke in a taxi cab or street hail livery, which means you're not supposed to smoke. And if you do get fined, it's $150 and you have to appear in court. Locking vehicle doors. While on duty, a driver must not lock either of the rear door except when the consent or the request of a passenger or for a reason specified in these rules. A driver is permitted to lock the front doors. However, a driver must not refuse to transport a party of 4 where one or more must occupy the front of the seat because the front doors are locked. Which means that you have to put everyone in the car. If there's 4 people, you have to open up the front doors and you have to make them sit next to you. The requirement is $300 if you plead guilty, and $400 suspension up to 30 days if found guilty following a hearing, and you get 2 points on your license. So make sure you guys know that. Easy Pass rule. A driver must not operate a vehicle for hire that is not equipped with an Easy Pass tag, which means that if you're driving a TLC vehicle, you have to have an Easy Pass tag in the car because that's what is easy for the customer. So make sure you know that. A driver must use Easy Pass at all crossing within the jurisdiction of Metropolitan MTA, Tri-Borough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, whether the Easy Pass is accepted. A driver may use personal Easy Pass tag to meet the requirement. I mean, you could get a regular Easy Pass as well. You don't have to have anything special. If you don't have it, the fine is $150 if you plead guilty, and after a hearing, and $200 if found guilty following a hearing. Meaning, if you found guilty, you get paid less. If you go to hearing and found guilty, then you obviously got to pay the full amount, which is $200. You don't have to come to court; it's not required. But if you do, then obviously you need a hearing. A driver must forward all tolls paid by the passenger to the holder of the Easy Pass tag at the end of his or her shift or lease period. A driver has been required to establish a replenishment amount as described in 58-27 of the Taxi Order Chapter. The driver must maintain the required balance in the account, which means that whenever your Easy Pass tag goes down, your balance goes down, you need replenishment. That's what they're basically asking. If you don't do it, it's $50 plus registration to the Easy Pass tag, which means that you could have your Easy Pass tag confiscated, and you don't want that to happen. Obviously, it's a big help, especially when you're driving TLC vehicles. Overloading vehicle. A driver must not permit more than 4 passengers to ride in a 4-passenger vehicle, not more than 5 passengers in a 5-passenger vehicle, except that an additional passenger must be accepted if the passenger is under the age of 7 and is held on the lap of an adult. Passengers seated in the rear. A driver must not permit a steel hail livery to be overloaded to carry more passengers than the vehicle is equipped to be seated based upon the New York City DMV registration of the vehicle. And if you have more than, let's say if you have a 4-vehicle car and you have 8 people inside, that's against the law. That's what they're trying to tell you. And if you do, it's $100 you plead guilty, and after a hearing, it's $150 if found guilty after the hearing. Use of front seat. A passenger who is unable to enter the ride in the rear seat of the vehicle must be permitted to occupy the front seat passenger seat. If a passenger's luggage, wheelchair, crutches, other mobility aids, or other property occupies the rear seat of the vehicle, a passenger must be permitted to occupy the front seat. Common sense. If you don't do that, it's $75 for a violation involving a person, $25 for violating involving luggage. You don't have to come to court. It's just a violation, which you don't have to come to court. It's no big deal. No property, only transport. A driver must not transport property except blood or vital human organs unless such property is a passenger of a passenger. Meaning that a driver must not transport any type of property except blood or vital human organs. That's what they're trying to tell you. Basically, that's all you can do. It's a fine. If you do it, it's $100. Appearance is not really required. No marketing to passengers. The driver must not sell, advertise, recommend any service of merchandise to any passenger without prior written Commission approval. Accept a driver of a street hail livery can promote the services offered by the vehicle affiliated base, which means, let's say if you're working with Uber, you could basically tell them about Uber because it's part of the Uber passenger, but you cannot do anything else with it. Basically, you cannot sell you if you have an insurance business or travel business. You can't do that. If you do something like that, it's $50 to $350 under suspension of your license up to 30 days. So that's a big fine. You don't want that to happen. Proper driving authorization, not applicable to street hail liveries. Driver who is leasing taxi cab must not sublease a taxi cab, which means if you're leasing a cab, you can't sublease it to somebody else to do that. And if you get caught, it's $100 to $350 fine. And obviously, for a third significant violation within 36 months, and you can also get your license suspended up to 30 days, and you have to have appearances required. Courtesy: a driver must be courteous to passenger, and if you don't do it, this is a section of the law, and it's $200 if you plead guilty, meaning you don't have to come to court to plead guilty, and if you go to the hearing, it's $300 after hearing you found guilty, and it's 2 points on your license. So it's up to you what you want to do. Off-duty procedures for a taxi cab. Before the off-duty change date, when the taxi cab is operated for personal use off-duty must be keyed into the T-pip or made this written trip record, and the off-duty light must be turned on. After the off-duty change date, when the taxi cab is operated for personal use off-duty must be kept into T-pip or made on the written trip record. If you don't do that, it's $100 to plead guilty before a hearing and $150 to found guilty involving a hearing. Appearance is not required. Before the off-duty change date, a driver must turn on the off-duty light and only be used manually operated on the taxi cab dashboard. After the off-duty change date, the driver must enter the appropriate off-duty code into the TPAP system. The fine of this is $100 if pleaded guilty. After the hearing, with $150 if found guilty following a hearing. And it's not a separate. You don't have to be there. That's where it says. Unavailable procedure for a taxi cab. Upon accepting a trip from the accessible dispatch program pursuant to section 53-08 of these rules or an approved e-hail app, a driver must enter the appropriate on-duty unavailable code into the TPAP. The fine of this is $100 if plead guilty before a hearing and $100 $50 guilty following a hearing. Off-duty procedure for street hail livery. This is for street hail livery. When the street hail livery is operated for personal use, the designated off-duty person on the taximeter must be entered, and personal use off. Duty must be kept into the LPIP or made on riddle trip record. The fine for this is the $100 if pleaded guilty before a hearing, $100 $50 after a hearing, and the appearance is not required. Street hail livery. Right light standing availability. The roof light, which is called the roof light on the street hail livery, must be on when the vehicle is available to accept a passenger. The roof light on the street hail livery must be off when there is a passenger in the vehicle. That's one of the requirements. The vehicle is on the way to begin a pre-arranged trip. That's another requirement. It can be off if the driver is off duty. Common sense. You have to be off. These are the 3 reasons why your street hail livery must be off. If one of these things are not met, then it has to be on at all times. $100 if pleaded guilty if the TLC inspector catches you, and $150 after the hearing date. Unavailability procedure for a street hail livery. Upon accepting a pre-arranged trip or a hail trip from an approved e-hail app, driver must enter the appropriate on-duty available codes in the LPAP. Again, this is the required fine, $100 if pleaded guilty, and $150 after the violation. Operation: comply with reasonable passenger request. Request for a specific route. The driver must comply with all reasonable and lawful routing request of the passenger. Unless the passenger makes a specific request, the driver must proceed to the passenger destination by the shortest reasonable route. This is also true for a hail trip in a street hail livery, although this is not true for a pre-arranged trip in a street hail livery. $100 is pleaded guilty after a hearing, and $100 $50 after the hearing. Request to change their destination. Passengers may ask the driver to change the destination to end the trip during the trip. Driver must comply with these requests unless it is impossible or unsafe. That's the only reason where you can do it. The passenger will pay the amount shown in the taximeter or the information monitor when the trip ends. For a pre-arranged trip in a street hail livery, request to change or terminate the trip can result in a different fare. For a trip which terminates early, the complete fare coded. So again, this is the fine and this is the appearance. Request to load luggage. Upon the request of a passenger, the driver must load or unload a passenger's luggage, wheelchair, crutches, or other property into or out of the vehicle interior or trunk compartment, and must securely close the door to trunk compartment. If you don't do it, it's $50 violation. Passenger receipt. At the end of a trip, a driver personally or via the passenger information monitor or the electronic means must offer a passenger receipt for payment of fare. except when the PM is inoperable for more than 48 hours after the driver files an incident report with an authorized taxi cab technology service provider, as set forth in this section. When a passenger requests a receipt personally via the PM or other electronic means, the driver must give a passenger receipt or payment of the fare. Basically, you have to give a receipt. The driver must state the date and time. Make sure you have that. The medallion number, the street delivery number, the trip number, the total fare, toll, surcharge extra, and all this requirement. Again, if you don't have that, this is the violation. $50 and $75 after the hearing. Request to adjust audio. At the request of a passenger, the driver must adjust the volume or turn off any audio or video equipment within his or her control. Passengers are also enlisted to select what is played on any audio or video equipment in the vehicle. Whether or not there is a passenger in the vehicle, an audio-video device can only be played at a normal volume and must not violate New York City noise regulation. What is that supposed to mean? Meaning that if you have a TLC car, you can't be blasting loud music on it, and if the TLC inspector catches you, it's a $25 fine. Make sure you know that. Request to adjust air conditioning heat. At the request of a passenger, the driver must return their air conditioner or heating component on and off. They have to do that. Other reasonable passenger requests. The driver must comply with all the reasonable requests of a passenger, including but not limited to giving his or her name, taxi cab driver license number, or the FHV license number. Basically, they have to have that. If not, then you can give you a violation or fine for that as well. This is going to be the part 2 of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, comment, concern, please comment, like, subscribe to my video. I'll be having other of this parts coming up soon. I just want to break it apart because sometimes it gets too long if I do it all in one thing. I just wanted to break it apart. Again, if you have any other questions regarding these rules and regulations, please contact me. Comment below in these videos, and I'll try my best to help you out as much as possible. Thank you again for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it.